Morning, Dr. Joe. It's
Good
it's
morning,
late.
Carlos.
I want to ask you, this couple of years, how's been your work? How's been your research? What have you done? Because I recall you saying that you were working on a future research, especially in the field of immunology.
Well, I think, one of the most profound things that's happened in our work is witnessing the testimonials of people who have actually applied the principles and the tools to make changes in their lives. And we started noticing about 8 to 10 years ago that people were having dramatic changes in their health. Cancers, diabetes, MS, lupus, Parkinson's disease, all kinds of autoimmune conditions. And when you see those type of changes that take place in people's bodies or in their lives, the scientist in me says we have to measure to see what's going on. And so probably in the last 3 years, we really organized a team of scientists from universities that are interested in demystifying the process. We've done over 18,000 brain scans. We've measured over 10,000 HRV heart measurements. We've done the largest studies on meditation in the world. And our interest is really to see if we can capture things that tell us that there is a power within us that could actually heal. And the scientific research that we've done in those primarily last 3 years, tell us without a doubt that you can make your brain work better in just a few days if you learn the tools and the techniques. You could actually change your physiological function in terms of your heart rate by changing your emotional state. You could change your immune system strength by trading fear for gratitude, and you can train people to do that. So this isn't just pseudoscience. This is common people that are doing the uncommon, and the cool thing about it is, in a very short amount of time, like learning anything, if you keep practicing, you'll get better at it. And so we have great evidence in our scientific studies, and we have great evidence in human testimony, and that's my interest.
I want to tell you a short story. About 7.5 years ago, one day I woke up without feeling half of my body, and I got admitted to the hospital with a diagnosis of cytomegalovirus meningitis, and my immune system was completely off. My CD4 was 180, I believe. So of course they thought I had AIDS, and probably something was going on. After they looked for everything, AIDS, leukemia, myelomas, lymphomas, everything, they did a PET scan, nothing showed up. The only thing that was real is that I had the bug in my brain, that I was admitted to the hospital for almost 40 days. And then I got out of the hospital without no diagnosis. Just, yeah, you had meningitis, but why? No clue. So I had to take care of myself. And I had to look in the mirror and say, okay, man, this is between you and I. I started reevaluating and making everything different in my life. I already did what I do today. I studied functional medicine, and I've been doing research and practicing in nutrition. Before I did functional medicine, I was trained in surgery. I studied general surgery, but I've always been in love with nutrition, and that's mostly what I've focused on. But then I said, there's something else. I mean, nutrition, it's a lot, but it's not everything. I had my bone marrow biopsy, which was the last one, because that's really painful. I had it this past February, and everything was great. Again, as you've said, that the most miraculous and fantastic changes in patients is when they remember, or when you tell them and they really realize that the most powerful switch in their lives for their health is in them, in their choices. And it's really fascinating. I really wanted to tell you that. Wanted to tell you that it's been, for me personally as a physician, but I'm not my own physician. I'm just Carlos, treating myself as a regular human being. And that it's something that I really try to inspire and encourage people doing?
Well, I think for the audience, it makes sense that there are three types of stress. There's physical stress, there's chemical stress, and there's emotional stress. And stress is when your brain and body are knocked out of balance, out of normal homeostasis. And the problem with stress is that when we perceive a threat or a danger, or we're responding to something in our life that's unfavorable, that primitive nervous system switches on and it mobilizes all of the body's resources to survive and adapt to whatever that fear is, whether it's real or imagined. So I agree. If you get the body more physically balanced by exercising and sleeping better and doing acupuncture, massage, chiropractic, whatever you really like to get your body tuned in, and you take care of your body chemically by making the right food choices and eating foods that are not a stress to the immune system, taking vitamins and minerals, that's really great, balancing your blood sugar. But the emotional stress always seems the most difficult for human beings. If you start thinking about your problems, you start thinking about past events that occurred in your life, you produce the same chemistry as if you were actually in the real life event. Now, here's the big problem, Carlos. The body doesn't know the difference. It's so objective. It can't tell the difference between the real life experience that's creating that emotion and the emotion that the person's creating by thought alone. Well, when they start opening their heart and they learn how to breathe and change their physiology, just in 4 days of doing that, their IgA levels went up 50%. Now, that's if a pharmaceutical company happened to come across something that strengthened IgA by 50%, it would be on every commercial during the news. Yeah. And the point is that's so fundamentally important here is that if you really give a moment to think about this, the person never took anything, ingested anything from outside of them to make those chemicals. Where did those chemicals come from? It came from within them. It came from right within them. So
your own pharmacy.
Right. So now here's a person's living in a state of gratitude or a state of love. The body's so objective in the same exact understanding that when they live in that state, the body's believing it's living in a favorable environment instead of a threatening environment.
How have you watched or do you have any experience on how meditation can improve, switch, change, have any effect on the microbiota and on the microbiome, and that relationship that now you were talking about autoimmune disease, and now that we know that the microbiome is so important in autoimmune disease, what is your experience in that, or have you done any research in that?
Sure. Well, I think, if you really, really take a moment and think about the microbiota, you realize that there's actually more cells in your body that are not you than the cells that make up you. Now, if a person really takes a moment and think about that, this is supposed to be a symbiotic relationship, like a win-win situation. The constant competition that's taking place between good bacteria and bad bacteria is what determines whether we're going to be healthy or well. So in January of this year, we conducted the largest study on microbiomes ever done in the history of this kind of field. We had 1,000, just a little under 1,000 people that came to a week-long event, and we took samples from their microbiome at the beginning of the event. And then they went through 7 days of intense training and meditation. The bad bacteria secrete certain chemicals that suppress the good bacteria, and the good bacteria secrete certain chemicals that control the bad bacteria. And he said there was a dramatic shift in healthy bacteria that take place in the body. And it's no different than understanding that when the body moves back into balance and homeostasis, and the person gets chemically balanced, physically balanced, and emotionally balanced, then the body is going to thrive in really, really wonderful ways.
Have you performed or done anything with people being overweight and obese that that they weren't able of losing weight in a normal way by diet and exercise. And once they start meditating, the switch really turned different.
It is, I believe it actually is, in fact, a switch. And people who have challenges with weight, um, sometimes there's a very strong uh, component that has to do with emotions. And if a person can really well, let's break it down really simple. There have been a lot of people in this work that have a dramatic change in their health and in their body just by doing nothing different than meditation, which, and I have been approached by many people who said, I did every diet, I did this, I did that, I could never lose weight until I started doing this work. And once again, why does that happen? Because if the person eats well and the person exercises and does all the right things and they can't make any shifts in their body, there's an emotional component that keeps the body in the past. Why is that? Because the end product of experiences in our life are our emotions, right? And the stronger the emotions we feel from some events in our life, the more we remember the event. And so the person a lot of times, or people a lot of times, get branded emotionally from very strong or highly emotional events in their lives. And they live by that emotion, and they get so used to living by that emotion that they think that it's them, right? And so your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. And your personality creates your personal reality. So then, if you really think about that, it means that if I want to create a new personal reality, if I want to change my life, that means I'm going to have to change, or I'm going to have to change my personality. The first step that we find so valuable is this concept in neuroscience called metacognition. And metacognition is a function of the frontal lobe. It's the seat of our conscience. And when we truly want to change, the hardest part about change is starting to make different choices. And when you make a different choice, the body all of a sudden is out of its routine, known way of doing things, and it feels uncomfortable, right? So when you start thinking about what you're thinking about, when you start noticing how you're acting and speaking, and you can really, really pay attention to how you're feeling, the act of becoming conscious of your unconscious states of mind and body is the real fundamental way that we change. It's an unlearning process. It's a breaking the habit process. It's unmemorizing emotions. When people start to unlearn that personality and they stop thinking the same way and they stop acting the same way and they stop feeling the same way, there's a biological change that happens in their circuitry, in their neurochemistry, in their hormones, and even in their gene expression. Now, so that's not the end. That's the beginning, and that's the hardest part for most people, because 95% of who we are by the time we're in our middle life is a set of memorized behaviors or habits, automatic emotional reactions, hardwired thoughts and attitudes that function automatically. So then when they function automatically, it means that you're unconscious to those thoughts, and becoming conscious of those unconscious thoughts, those unconscious behaviors, how we even speak and how we feel is the process of change. But then if you said, how do I want to think? What thoughts do I want to fire and wire in my brain? What behaviors do I want to demonstrate today in my life? Let me think about, with my eyes closed before I grab my cell phone, how I'm going to be with my children, how I'm going to be with my coworkers, how I'm going to be in my relationship, how I'm going to be by myself, how am I going to demonstrate greatness? What's it going to look like to demonstrate love today? The act of closing your eyes and rehearsing it mentally. The brain doesn't know the difference between the real life experience or what you're imagining. And you start installing hardware in the brain. And if you keep doing it enough times, it becomes more automatic, like a software program. Now, I think the most important part about this is we have to teach our body emotionally what it feels like to have a change in our life.
Dr. Joe, this has been really fascinating. And I really look forward to something that I don't want to do in the quantum field, but in the physical field. And it's to enjoy something that I know that you really appreciate and enjoy, and I know that you do it as much as I do, which is wine. I'm a wine drinker, studier, lover. It's something that I really enjoy. Is it something that you really try to enjoy as much?
Yes, yes, I grew up in an Italian family, and my grandfather was a winemaker, and I have been sampling wine since I was 5 years old, and
Oh my
uh,
God.
I love wine, I love food, I love the combination of two, and I love the taste of it, and I love doing it with people who love doing it also.
I look forward into that, and looking forward also into maybe we could chat sometime about the benefits on wine, and maybe people encourage people on, if they want and they want to make it as a healthy habit. Sometimes maybe they can make it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your work. You're really a game changer. It's really, your work is truly, truly inspiring, and truly it's a gift for humanity. And I
Uh,
hope we can meet each other again.
sure, Carlos, thank you for all that you do also and the lives that you change. I appreciate that too.
And well, the best for you, best for your family. And thank you. And till next time, have a
Okay,
great day.
thank you so much.
Thank you too.